right, lady, call me in. You have to hold her on silent for me. All right, very much.
Hold on a minute. It's already. Jefferson County Court, Alert number 2 is back in session. The court is in session and calls numbers 23 CCCR 0642 and calls number 24 CCCR 2011. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Alan Valdez. Let the record reflect that Mr. Valdez is present in court with his attorney, Attorney Glenn Crocker. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant Criminal District Attorneys, Attorney Andrew Hubel and Attorney Shane Hilton. State, are you ready?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Defense, are you ready?
Defense is ready, Your Honor.
And let the record reflect that the jury is now present and seated in the courtroom. Mr. Hubel, you can read the information. Mr. Valdez, you can stand with your attorney.
First in cause number 24 CCCR 2011. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, comes now the undersigned Assistant Criminal District Attorney of Jefferson County, Texas, on behalf of the state of Texas, and presents in and to the County Court of Law of Jefferson County, Texas, that in Jefferson County, Texas, Alan Valdez, hereafter styled the defendant, heretofore on or about October 23rd, 2022, while driving and operating a motor vehicle, willfully failed and refused to bring his vehicle to a stop in order to elude a pursuing police vehicle. After having been given a visual sign, to wit, emergency light signal, to bring the defendant's vehicle to a stop, and the signal was given by Justin Flanagan, a police officer in uniform prominently displaying his badge of office. And the police vehicle driven by Justin Flanagan was appropriately marked, showing it to be an official police vehicle against the peace and dignity of the state.
And Mr. Valdez, to that information, how do you plead?
Not guilty.
Okay. Now, Mr. Hubel, you can read the second information.
The second information, cause number 23 CCCR 0642. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, comes now the undersigned Assistant Criminal District Attorney of Jefferson County, Texas. On behalf of the state of Texas, he presents in and to the County Court of Law of Jefferson County, Texas, that in Jefferson County, Texas, Alan Valdez, hereafter styled the defendant, heretofore on or about October 23rd, 2022, did then and there intentionally or knowingly carry on or about this person a handgun in a motor vehicle that was then and there under the defendant's control, and the defendant was then and there engaged in criminal activity, to wit, fleeing police officer against the peace and dignity of the state.
And Mr. Valdez, to that information, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Okay. Mr. Valdez, you may be seated. Mr. Hubel, would you like to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here this afternoon and this week. We do appreciate your time and attention in this matter because it's very important to both the state and the government. Now, as I said yesterday, your decision is going to come down to the elements of this case and whether or not the state proves them beyond a reasonable doubt. Those elements in these cases are essentially boiled down to if the offense is occurring in Jefferson County on October 23rd of 2022, that the defendant, Alan Valdez, was the individual who committed those offenses, and that he failed to, or refused to bring the vehicle to a stop, eluding a police officer, who was in uniform, just prominently displaying his badge, and in an appropriately marked police vehicle, giving an emergency light signal. And during the commission of that offense, he further intentionally and knowingly carried a handgun on or about this person in a motor vehicle that was under his control. Now, we believe that the evidence in this case will show through the testimony he's submitted that Officer Justin Flanagan with the Beaumont Police Department was on patrol on the morning of October 23rd, 2022. He was on patrol on East States Freeway in Beaumont, Texas, that is in Jefferson County, Texas, when he noticed a white Chevy Silverado. We believe that the evidence will show that the driver of the Silverado committed traffic offenses in view of Officer Flanagan, and that Officer Flanagan initiated a traffic stop by activating his emergency light signals. We believe that the evidence will further show that the conditions were that it was pitch black, it was night. There were no other cars on the road besides the suspect vehicle and Officer Flanagan. And that the weather conditions were not stormy, they were calm and such that one could see one could see the lights of the siren. And then during the process of this pursuit, the evidence further showed that the defendant left East Next Freeway via the Pennsylvania Road exit towards Hardin County. At this point, he passes multiple places he could stop, both on the East Next and on the exit road. The evidence will further show that when the defendant finally does stop the vehicle, he is asked to exit the vehicles. He does though, and he's asked to walk backwards toward the police unit. This he does not comply. This he does not comply with. We believe that the evidence will show that instead of following the commands of the officers, he places himself on the ground and creates a situation of concern to the officers. Because at this point, they have one individual on the ground saying that there's no passenger. They can't confirm whether or not there's a passenger in the vehicle. Evidence will show that he was speaking to someone at the time. That there was an individual on the phone he was speaking with, and that made the officers think that there could be a potential passenger who was simply refusing to exit the vehicle. So we have in that situation, Officer Flanagan calls for backup from several officers in the unit. The officers that you'll be hearing from today are Flanagan and Murphy. Now, whenever they arrive, they take the driver, Mr. Valdez, into custody. And we believe that the evidence will show that he identifies himself as Alan Valdez, and it's the presence of a handgun in the vehicle. After that, he's placed under arrest and placed in the back of the unit. And Officer Craig Murphy with the Beaumont Police Department finds a handgun in the defendant's vehicle. Now, to prove his case beyond a reasonable doubt, the state will be calling those two officers, Flanagan and Murphy. And you will hear the testimony of Officer Flanagan, who is the officer who initiated the traffic stop. You will see his body cam and dash cam from those from this event. And you will hear Officer Murphy, who will testify to his response, as well as the firearm that was recovered and his body cam from these events. And all this to show that that on that night, it was a dark night, there were no other cars on the road, the weather was calm, he had multiple points to stop, and with like the entire night, he simply chose not to. The state will prove to his witnesses that there's something wrong mistake in this case, and that the defendant is guilty of being a police officer in the local area of Italy. So again, we thank you for your time and attention this week. And I'll present this.
Mr. Crocker?
We waive till our case in chief.
Okay. Mr. Hubel, would you like to call your first witness?
State calls Officer Justin Flanagan.
Okay. Officer Flanagan, would you please come forward? You can raise your right hand. Officer Flanagan, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
You may put your hand down. Officer Flanagan, you can take a seat on the witness stand. You can adjust the mic and the chair. Mr. Hibble, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Officer Flanagan. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Justin Flanagan, employed with Beaumont PD as police officer.
And you're a certified peace officer?
Yes, sir.
So you've been with BPD for how long?
Approximately 4.5 years.
Okay. And have you been with any other departments before that?
That's right.
So in order to be an officer at the Beaumont Police Department, what kind of training experience is required?
First step is to attend a regional police academy where you go through the basically basic certification course to get your peace officer license, then through a field training program for 27 weeks.
Now, going back to October 2022, do you recall what your duties were about that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and can you tell me what they were?
I was working for Border Patrol, conducting traffic enforcement on East Texas Freeway.
Okay, and do you recall being on that patrol on October 23rd of 2022?
Yes, sir. I do.
Okay. And whereabouts do you recall you were patrolling?
In the area of East Texas Freeway in Shen Lane, about the 10,000 block.
Okay, and is that in Beaumont, Texas?
Yes, sir, it is.
In Jefferson County, Texas?
Yes, sir.
And during your patrols, were you alone?
I was.
So during this patrol, did you observe anything that you would characterize as out of the ordinary?
No, sir.
Okay. While you were conducting your patrol, did you happen to witness a vehicle committing a traffic offense?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. And can you describe the vehicle?
It was a white Chevrolet pickup.
Okay. And is that a motor vehicle?
Yes, sir, it is.
And in this vehicle, where was your car in relation to that vehicle?
I was following behind it in the middle lane.
Okay. And can you describe the traffic violations that you observed?
The first one was failing to signal lane change, and the second one being failed to maintain a single lane.
And while you were observing this, was your dash cam active?
Yes, sir, it was.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, you may.
I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 1. Do you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and can you tell me what it is?
It is the video recording of it.
Okay. And can you tell me if this is your, like, what camera this is from?
The front dash.
Okay. And does it fairly and accurately, first of all, have you had a chance to review this prior to testifying?
Yes, sir, I have.
And does it fairly and accurately depict the events as they occurred that night?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you a competent operator of your dash camera?
Yes, sir, I am.
Any alterations to this film?
Not to my knowledge.
And say what tenor to defense.
No objection, stage one.
Okay, no objection, states exhibit number 1 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm not yet publishing. No. Now, do you recall what the conditions as far as weather were that night?
I don't recall. I know it was nighttime.
Okay. So you don't recall whether it was stormy or clear?
I believe it was clear.
And whenever you noticed these traffic violations, did you make the decision to initiate a traffic stop?
Yes, sir, I did.
How did you signal to the driver that you intended to pull him over?
By activating the overhead red and blue lights.
Okay. And did you also utilize your siren?
Yes, sir, short professional. We have to turn on the lights.
Okay. And did the defendant pull over immediately?
No,
Instead, what did he do?
he continued driving northbound before he took the Cooks Lake Road exit and continued traveling northbound on the 69 service road just south of Keith Road.
And when you were on patrol that night and making this stop, were you in uniform?
Yes, sir, I was.
Did you have your badge displayed?
Yes, sir,
And were you in a marked police vehicle?
I was.
And can you tell me about what speed the defendant was going during this chase?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
Okay, that's fine. Um, but he was refusing to stop for you.
Correct.
And why does that concern you as an officer?
Well, you never know. There's generally an underlying reason why an operator may not stop their vehicle, whether it be trying to hide contraband or just cause contraband or stall for the time being to figure out a plan.
Did the vehicle eventually come to a stop?
Yes, sir, it did.
And do you recall where it stopped?
It was on the service road just south of Keith Road on 69.
At this point, state would publish stage one.
Okay, you may publish that as well.
Officer Flanagan, can you clearly see the video from stage one?
Yes, sir.
No, that point in stage one, were you able to view one of the traffic violations that we were talking about previously?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and which one was that?
That was the fail into signal lane change from the middle lane to the left lane.
Okay, and at this point, you would continue to fall behind the defendant and you witness another traffic violation?
Yes, sir.
And which one was that?
Fail to maintain a single lane.
Now, at this point in state exhibit number one, you turn on your emergency light signal, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at this point in the video, both yourself and the suspect vehicle are still in Jefferson County, Texas.
Correct.
And now the suspect vehicle is taking that exit that you were talking about
Yes, sir.
into Hardin County? And as we're viewing this video, from State's Exhibit number 1, do you see that there were multiple places for the defendant to pull over, and comply with, your emergency light signal prior to this point?
Yes, sir.
And he finally comes to us. And can you tell me again where this was?
It was just south of Keith Road is the nearest intersecting road.
So when that vehicle finally came to a stop, did you immediately approach it?
No, sir, I didn't.
Can you tell me why?
For safety reasons, I don't know what the driver's doing or what he was doing while he was not stopping. So it's easier just to wait for other officers and that way it's just more safe.
And during this call, there were other officers who came to assist you.
Correct.
And can you tell me who those officers were?
It was Officer Genesee, Sergeant Price, and Officer Murphy,
Was Officer Greason also present?
and Officer Grayson. That's true.
During this call, did you have your body worn camera activated?
Yes, sir.
May I approach?
Yes, you may.
I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 2. Do you recognize it? Can you tell me what it is?
The body worn camera video.
And does it truly and accurately depict the events that occurred that night?
Yes, sir.
And you've had the chance to review it.
I have.
There are no alterations,
No, sir.
and you are confident in favor of that body camera?
Yes, sir.
Say what's entered to defense.
No objection to.
Okay, no objection. State's Exhibit number 2 will be admitted.
So during the stop, while you are waiting for the other officers to appear, did you interact with the driver of the vehicle?
I attempted to interact with the driver.
Okay. And would you characterize the driver as cooperative with your attempts to do so?
Not at all.
Based on observations that you made, did you come to the conclusion that there might be a passenger in the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that concerned you. Was that another reason why you didn't approach?
Correct.
So when other units arrived, you did approach the defendant in the vehicle as a group?
Yes, we're after assaulting.
Okay. So can you tell me exactly how you did that?
Giving verbal command to show me his hands, and once officers got on scene, he was instructed to exit the vehicle, to face away from us and to walk backwards to officers.
Okay. And ultimately, he didn't fully comply with that.
No, sir.
So whenever you and your fellow officers went to approach him, how did you do so?
The defendant was laid on his stomach towards the bed of the truck on the side. Me and another officer walked up, placed him in hand restraints, and then we cleared the vehicle, make sure there's no other occupants inside.
Okay. So it was yourself and Sergeant Price that cleared the vehicle
Yes, sir.
while and was it Officer Murphy and Officer Genesee who took the defendant into custody?
Yes, sir.
And after he was taken into custody, did the defendant make any admissions?
Yes.
And were they the result of any questioning, or was it simply a spontaneous admission?
It was a spontaneous admission.
And can you tell me what that admission was?
He mentioned about having a 9mm in his vehicle.
Okay. And based on based on the facts or the events leading up to the submission, what did that signal in your head as a police officer?
As far as, the gun goes, it was just another charge.
And what charge was that?
Unlawful carrying of a weapon.
Alright. And when you initially spoke to the defendant, did he ask you any questions?
I don't recall.
Okay. And ultimately, you placed the defendant in your patrol vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And while this was going on, did other officers successfully find a firearm in the defendant's vehicle?
Yes, sir, they did.
Okay. And did you personally view that firearm that was seized from the defendant's vehicle?
I did.
At this point, I would ask the court's favor to unseal the weapon in this case and to ensure that it's secure. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 3. Do you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell me how you recognize it?
The case number.
Okay. And that would be the case number that's on this barcode?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does it have any other identifying information?
And it's got my last name and first initial.
Um, and see. I'm now showing you the contents of what's marked as State's number 3. Do you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what it is?
It's a Smith and Wesson 9mm handgun.
Okay. And you know it to be the one that was recovered that night?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know it to be that one?
The color, and then it follows the serial number would match.
Okay. And having viewed it both on that night and in today in court, do you see any alterations to it?
No, sir.
It's in the same or substantially same condition?
Yes, sir.
Say what's entered to defense.
I have no objection.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 3 is admitted.
So then following the defendant's initial arrest and the recovery of the firearm, the defendant was ultimately arrested for 2 offenses and taken to Jefferson County Jail.
Yes, sir.
Um, at this point, say what other states do.
Okay.
On fire, complaint about something from our front door. Another complaint is calling from Hopper because several guys are outside shooting. That's what they're happening.
Old boy John, 8506, East Six northbound on Grotto.
In those latest numbers that you just said, can you tell me what those were?
The, 444 was my unit number, and the, Ballboy John, was the new, alphanumeric for the license plate.
In 444, we take the, Cooks Lake Road exit, Park County.
Okay.
We just saw was, on the body cam, activating your emergency lights and utilizing the siren.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that was prior to the defendant taking the Cooks Lane Road exit?
Correct.
And you begin to use your,
So we're gonna pay the channel, we're not stopping.
you begin to use your siren, right?
Yes, sir.
And he still refuses to stop.
Correct.
Code on the charges. Take photos of some.
Stop for the road exit, I don't know what I'm gonna.
Okay.
Let me see your hand.
Shows up, showing up public servants and, if
Roll your window down. Yeah, it's going to be, take the, Cooks Lake Road, as we'll be on the service road, just south of the road.
Ready to tuck that understand off.
Oh, no, dude. Playing in on Delaware, there.
Driver! Get your hand out the window! Do it now! Keep both hands visible, do not move. Stay like you're at.
Roll please, Board Chair.
Step on, wait on that, dude.
Pushing.
Your hand out the window. With your left hand, open the door. I don't know who's all in there. He's open the door. Step out and face away from me. Take 2 steps to your left. Take 2 steps to your left. One more to your left. Walk back to the sound of my voice. Walk back. I don't care about your phone. Listen to my command. Walk back to the sound of my voice. Walk backwards to the sound of my voice. Do it now. Walk backwards. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Hennessy, where you at? Keep walking.
So at this point, during state's exhibit number 2, you have asked the defendant to exit the vehicle,
Yes, sir.
and you've asked him to take 2 steps to the left.
Yeah.
Where are those 2 steps important?
To separate the operator from the vehicle, to create distance.
And you've asked him to walk backwards towards you. Why is that?
I had him face away to walk backwards so he can't see what we're doing. And for safer, so we don't have to approach the vehicle to take him into custody.
And does he ultimately comply with these requests?
No.
Okay.
Walk it back.
Get on your feet!
Okay.
Get on your feet!
If we got our unit, hey, just hold him. We're just gonna have to clear the truck. I don't wanna go up there. I don't know who else is in the truck, so. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think there's someone else in there. Is there anybody in the vehicle with you? Cover me real quick. Cover me real quick. Man, we got he's not being compliant with anything that I'm saying, and I don't know if there's anybody else. Yeah, I'm gonna wait on this unit here, and one of us, or two's gonna have to go with him, put hands on him, and then 2 are gonna clear that truck. See if he'll get it up and walk back to you.
Stand up! Stand up!
He's not. Wow.
Driver, stand up!
You get it back to you, that'd be perfect. Put your hands straight up in the air. Walk backwards to the sound of my voice. Walk backwards. I didn't say lay down, I said walk backwards. I don't care, stand up, walk backwards. Do what? We're about to go, push up. Are we? Two gonna go ahead, I guess two for the truck. I said go ahead. He's not gonna listen. Sir? What? Sir? I said two go hands for him, two for the truck. I don't know how we can do this, so I think there's someone else in there, but he. Okay. Passenger, step out with your hands up. He's saying no one's in there, but
Was there ultimately a passenger in the vehicle?
No, sir, there wasn't.
In that situation, could you take his word for it?
No.
And why is that?
We just don't take anybody's word. People lie to us for a living and, we treat every vehicle like there's always an extra occupant.
And essentially to get the passenger to exit the vehicle, would you attempt to try anything else?
Sorry, can you say that question again?
Yes. Did you utilize anything else to attempt to get the passenger to exit the vehicle?
Yes, I got on the, public address, speaker, and gave more commands.
Dr. Barney, this seat here. Put your hands away from your body. Passenger, step out with your hands up. Passenger, if you're inside the vehicle, step out with your hands up, facing away from us. Yeah. I'm right here. Yeah, hurt pretty, bro. Do you think? Roll over your butt. Roll over your butt. Roll over your butt. Sit up. Sit up. Give me one. All right, let's sit down. There you go.
And did you hear what was just stated, in State's exhibit number 2 by the defendant?
Yes,
And what was stated?
he said there's a 9mm pistol in my truck.
Yes, he's 16 old, which is very straight. Yeah, but you could do. What's your last name? That is B-L-D-Z. And what's your first name? Spell for me. What's the birth out? July 25th, 85? What's a good address for you?
Quick question. Is he about to use that fucking pistol against me? Starts.
Yeah, you will get charged with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Although.
Right now, you're under arrest for fleeing, okay, and the fact that you have a handgun, okay? Sir, I'll look you up in Jefferson County. What's that? Do what? How are you supposed to know that I was pulling you over? Well, maybe a red and blue light would be the first clue. Second clue would be the siren. Third clue would be that you took an exit, you passed numerous places to pull over, you slow roll me, you know.
But I didn't look. Why?
It doesn't matter if it's like you run from the police and you end up giving up, doesn't make it easy. Okay, we're not gonna argue. What's your address? Yeah, there you go.
You must be. Which one?
What's a good address for you?
And during this last segment of state decision number 2, defendant has made several statements. Were any of those statements the result of any questioning?
No, sir.
Okay, you got driver's license on you? Okay. You're good. You know, life's all about choice, man. You just made a bad decision. Don't get mad at me. I'm doing my job. I'm all.
You're locked on arrested, names, further address.
Step back. Please. Yes. Guys, we don't come run the boys around and try to. Well, I'm gonna look at I'll take it somewhere. Go ahead and see back in the circle. You have to listen to the same thing I told you all night long. Have a seat, have a seat, have a seat. You want to catch another charge? You basically catch resisting. Jump up in that truck. Go, get up in the truck. You're the one acting like child right now, man. Trying to do things the old way and you don't know how to listen. That's fine. Do it, baby.
And the driver that you interacted with, in safety exhibit number 2, and who ultimately, committed those offenses that night, is he in the courtroom?
Yes, sir, he is.
Can you identify him by an article of scope?
It's fine.
And he's the individual sitting at the defense table?
Yes, sir.
Will the record reflect that the defendant, that the, witness has identified the defendant?
The record will so reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant.
No further questions for this witness. State pass the witness.
Yes, you may pass the witness. Mr. Crocker, you may proceed.
Hi, officer, we've met before, and
Yes, sir, we have.
how long you been an officer?
Approximately 4.5 years.
How long were you an officer in October 22?
I would say around 2 years,
When did you take the
December 20th of 2020.
2020? When did you get out of field training?
I don't recall the exact date. It was approximately 4 to 5 months after that, so maybe around May of 21.
And you've been on the street by yourself for about a year and 5 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You told the jury that the reason you initiated the stop was an improper lane change, correct?
Incorrect. It was for failure to signal lane change.
Okay. And that resulted in a citation.
I don't believe I wrote this citation.
Look at your report, you're on it.
It doesn't say.
You have any record whether you gave him a citation for that?
No, sir.
If I represented to you, you did not, would you disagree with me?
No, sir.
Okay. Was there another offense that you said you viewed?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
Failed to maintain a single lane.
Okay, and that resulted in a citation?
No, sir.
Okay. What's the posted speed on that road?
Well, where I was sitting initially, it's 55, and then it jumps up to 65, just south of Chin Line.
We're heading north, not south.
Correct, but just south of Chin Lane northbound is where the 65-mile zone.
And so I asked you, what's the speed limit there?
65.
65, not 55, right?
Where I initially saw the defendant is 55. Where he passes me, it increases to a 65.
What was the speed limit when he passed you?
65.
65. Why are we telling this jury it's 55?
Well, the stop wasn't for speed.
Well, that's my point. So you were stationary, correct?
Yes, sir, I was.
Shooting radar?
No, sir.
Okay. Looking for infractions on the highway.
Yes, sir.
You said you saw an improper lane change,
I felt a signal lane change.
failed a signal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that was north of Chin Lane, correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Chin Lane is also south of Tram Road.
Yes, sir, it is.
Tram Road is the last exit in Jefferson County.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your report indicates that somewhere around Broad Oak.
Yes, sir.
Now you're from Lumberton. Tell this jury where Broad Oak is.
Broad Oak is just north of Tram Road. It's the last road you get to that intersects with East Tex before you get into Hardin County.
Where the Coca-Cola plant is, correct?
Yes, sir, it
Where
is.
Halliburton used to be, correct?
That I don't know.
Don't know. Little before
Don't
you
know,
time?
yes, yes.
All right. So we know this, that you cannot go from Broad Oak to the highway, correct?
Correct.
Broad Oak just dead ends to a feeder road that circles back into Beaumont.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So your start spot of where you say, hey, I need to start investigating this is Broad Oak.
Yes, sir.
All right. Where's the first exit after Broad Oak?
It would be Cooks Lake Road.
Cooks Lake Road. And in fact, he took the Cooks Lake Road exit, did he not?
He did.
Okay. How many seconds from Broad Oak to Cooks Lake Road did you travel?
That I couldn't.
Can you look at State's Exhibit 1, please? At this moment,
Sir,
are you looking at?
I'm looking at that this week.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're looking at you being stationary south of Chin, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Andrew, you won't be pushed to go. I'll go. Tell me if you can't hear me. That's not Mr. Valdez. That's not Mr. Valdez, correct?
Correct.
Did I read in your report somewhere where there was light to no traffic?
Yes, sir. The second paragraph. Light traffic.
Light traffic.
Yes.
Okay. Well, 2 cars just passed that were not Valdez, correct?
Correct.
All right. That Valdez?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hang on. He's already almost Tram Road before you even pull out, isn't he?
He's almost to Chin Lane.
Chin?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, sir.
What are the lights on the far left-hand side? So that'd be the southbound lane. Is that the silos?
No, sir, that's the U-Haul place.
Okay. About where the brick store is?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Mr. Valdez is just gone over Chin Lane right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He's lost visual sight of you, line of sight, so have you, correct?
Correct.
And you do not have your emergency lights on, correct?
No, sir.
All right. It'd be okay if you just keep them off. I'm probably gonna walk, keep the lights off.
Okay.
I'm gonna walk back and forth, yes, ma'am. Now, you're not initiating a stop right now, you're just trying to get up behind them, right?
Correct.
Right, so that's tram exit. All right, you've crested the top of the overpass. Which one of those rear tail lights is Alec Valdez?
The, in the middle lane.
Middle lane. Any idea how far away he is?
I wouldn't be able to put a number on it.
Right, but we do know this. He's already past Tram Road, isn't he?
No, sir.
You don't see him being past the Tram Road exit?
The exit, yes, not the
He
actual.
can't
roadway.
get to Tram Road unless he takes the exit, can he?
Well, there's a second tram road exit, further north.
Okay. So that's the first one. And so now he goes to the outside lane, correct?
Correct.
You don't have your lights on, do you?
No, sir.
All right. Second and final trim road,
Yes, sir.
okay? All right. You see him touch his brake lights, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And he's going from the left lane to either the interior lane or the far right. You would assume, correct?
Are you talking about when he's signaling over to the
Yeah, he
middle?
signaled.
Yes, sir.
And that is the proper signal to go over.
Correct.
But at this point in time, you're not pulling them over.
No, sir.
All right. Didn't appear to be speeding, does he?
Not that I recall.
Right. You didn't write him a speeding citation.
Correct.
Where is it he's failing to maintain a single lane?
He starts bumping the line here. There's one.
Now, those lines are there for a reason, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Those lines denote the lane, correct?
Correct.
Educate the jury. The line on the far right is called what?
The,
Fog line?
yes, sir.
Okay, and then the one on the center is the dividing line, correct?
Correct.
And as a traveler, I'm allowed to go between the fog line and the center divider, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he is within his lane.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that last exit side. That's that last tram road exit, is it not?
It is.
Okay. Still not pulling him over, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Crested the overpass of Tram Road. Convenience store shell on your left, Chevron to your right.
Yes, sir.
Wrong. Vice versa, isn't it, if you're heading north?
Okay.
Isn't that right?
I don't want to say.
Suffice it to say,
There's a convenience store.
convenience stores on each side.
Yes.
All right. You can't pull over there because why?
Over right now, where is that right now?
Yeah.
Well, we're about to come over to a downslope on a overpass.
Plus, you're not trying to pull them over, are you?
Right.
All right. This is Broad Oak, isn't it?
It is.
All right. The light that I see, is that your headlights against this tailgate, or is that actually your overheads?
That's the red and blue overheads.
That's the red and blue overhead. So when your report says Broad Oak, we're looking at Broad Oak
Yes, sir.
to your right if we're heading north.
Correct.
All right. Tell the jury what kind of shoulder we got there.
Right there, none, but
None.
coming up to the bridge, there's a
Okay, hang on,
wide.
not there yet. None there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as we go further, there's this weird little double bridge, isn't there? One for the main line of traffic and the other for overflow,
Yes, sir.
okay? All right. When did you decide he was evading arrest?
Once he took the exit and passed numerous safe places to pull over.
Well, hang on, it's sequentially.
Okay.
So once he takes the Cooks Lake Road exit, correct?
Yes, sir.
And conjunctive meaning there's something else for our recipe. He didn't pull over, right?
Okay.
All right. So at this point in time, he's not evading, is he?
No, sir.
All right. I'm gonna back it up just a smidge. Oh, too much, wasn't it? That's okay. Sorry about that, Andrew. I'll move it forward if I may. Oh, too far. So, officer, on your dash cam video, it's not activated by turning on your overhead lights, correct?
It can be.
But it's not in this instance.
No, sir.
All right. And this timer on the lower right-hand side, is that on your dash cam? 1 minute, 1 second, 42.
Yes, sir, I believe.
Okay. All right. Would you agree with me that that's the time stamp when you attempt to initiate the stop?
Yes, sir.
And can you see it from where you're sitting?
I can.
You might want to turn around and look at the one by.
205.
Well, how about 1.0100?
Okay.
That's the actual time today. May
Yeah,
I
I'll
approach
look
your
at
honor?
the,
Yes, you may.
yes,
Can you see it, or is this in the way?
no, I can see it. Yeah, I thought you were talking about this. I was saying 205 on this side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Miss Mosby.
Okay. Either or, they count the same, don't they? One's down, one's up.
It's down, Mark. Stick. What's that over there? Okay. He can get it. If he needs it. Mr. Crocker, there's a pointer.
Sir?
If you need it, there's a stick. She just gave it to the officer if you need it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
correct me on my math, is that 18 seconds?
Not the best at math either, so I'm gonna lie.
Okay, fair enough. Somewhere less than 20 seconds, you've determined that he is evading arrest.
Are you asking when I called it out on the radio?
No, in your mind.
I would say when he gets a little further north and passes all these empty lots up here on this first road.
Can't really pull over there, can you?
No, sir.
Because on the right-hand side of that, it's pretty steep. It goes down to that weird double bridge
Yes, sir.
feeder road thing. So you're not expecting him to pull over there, are you?
No, sir.
All right. Got a signal on, doesn't he?
Yes, sir.
And he's slowing it down, isn't he? All right, he can't stop there, can he? There's a lane of traffic merging, right?
Yes, sir.
And you don't want him to stop on the left, do you?
No, not preferably on the right hand side.
That's not the opportune place for him to stop, right? And we also know that right above that is where the interstate loops back around into Beaumont.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's not a place to stop, is it?
No, sir.
All right. Ooh. All right. To the right hand side where about this light is, I'm gonna represent to you. That's about where a drainage storage place is. Is that about right?
I believe so. Yes,
Just south of Cooks Lake Road,
yes, sir.
and it's covered in a fence, right?
That I don't.
Don't know if it's surrounded by fence. What side of Lumberton did you grow up on?
Off Keith Road.
Right there, man.
Right there.
Right there, your whole life.
Well, part of my life.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, so this is the road you travel.
Yeah, well, used to travel, yes.
Used to? Okay. So we've got a business, can't pull over to the left. This sign says Cooks Lake Road or something, or maybe U-turn or something like that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He's slowing down. I mean, how slow is he? Oh, by the way, that right there, you can't have him pulling over in the center of the street, can you?
Well, you could have taken the turn lane to turn on to Cooks Lake Road.
Would you prefer him turn off on Cooks Lake Road where it's dark?
Start all the way down the service road.
So it wouldn't matter to you. You wouldn't think it was even more dangerous if he's pulling down a country road?
No, sir.
Okay. So that's the first place in your mind you could have pulled over?
Yes, sir.
Alright. This shoulder here, you're saying he can pull over there,
Yes, sir.
right? Man, he's practically stopped, isn't he?
No,
He's
sir.
pulling over and brake lights, and I'm what? I mean, I have come to rest right there. Less than a minute, wasn't it?
Say a little over a minute.
And for that, Mr. Valdez earned a felony, did he not?
Initially, yes.
You charged him with a felony, did you not?
I did.
Okay. And do you know what happened to that felony?
I assume it got dropped down to the
Dismissed. You activated your audible signal twice. Why do you activate it the first time?
to get a driver's attention.
Okay. Now, is it safe to say if you activate your audible signal, you're unsure whether the lights have got his attention?
I would say yes.
That's why they're there.
Right.
Why do you activate it a second time?
To try to get some response from the driver to stop.
To get his attention.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In your professional judgment, you did not have his attention until the second audible signal, correct?
Yes.
Otherwise, there'd be no need. So it's safe to say that lights alone aren't enough,
In most situations, yes.
but not in this one.
No, sir.
Right. So in reviewing your dash cam video, where would you have preferred him to stop?
Preferably right after he took the Cooks Lake Road exit.
That would be your preference.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Or on the bridge, but just before the Cooks Lake Road exit.
You don't want him stopping on the bridge, do you?
Well, I mean, there's a wide enough shoulder there, you know, could have stopped. I could have told him, hey, if I didn't feel comfortable to, right,
Okay.
to take that.
So it's either on the bridge or Cooks Lake Road.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think it's unusual for someone that would be evading to actually exit at a slow speed?
No,
Okay. Put his blinker on.
I've seen it before. It doesn't prescribe a speed to evade.
Okay. So now that we are here before this court on a eluding different way, what do you believe? Where do you believe in this video that he eluded?
The minute when he took the exit and didn't pull over on the surface.
The minute he took the Cooks Lake Road exit?
Yes.
Okay. And from his failure to exit Cooks Lake Road to the time he finally came to stop is the time frame we need to be looking at then, correct?
Yes.
All right.
What do I have?
Yes, ma'am, if you could. Too far been officer. Being too far though. Auto, you light them up. Crossing Pine Island Bio Bridge. And per your testimony right here, when he's signaling to get off the Cooks Lake Road, is where you have developed the opinion he's evading you. Correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And that timestamp is 2.28 on the left and 1.0037 on the right, correct?
Yes, sir.
Or that's you would agree with me that that is the pertinent time frame in which this jury should consider, correct?
Yes,
Nothing prior, because there was no tickets, correct?
correct.
Nothing after, because no charges resulted afterwards, correct, as far as resisting or anything like that?
Correct. No, no, sir.
Okay. Madam Bailiff, could you turn on the lights? Thank you very much. You seem to be pretty concerned that there's an occupant in the vehicle. Is there some movement, a shadow, or just, I just don't know.
I heard it looked like he was making a movement or turning his head to the front passenger seat. I believe that he was talking to somebody.
Would you be able to ascertain later on that he was talking on his cell phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in fact, you told put the cell phone down.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he was talking to somebody.
Correct.
Did you hear the conversation?
No, sir.
No. Did he hang up on the person or did it stay open or do you know?
I don't recall.
Okay. Not your car cam. Your body cam has some audio on there. Talking about shooting, things like that. That has nothing to do with this case, correct?
No, sir. That's just background.
General radio chatter.
Yes, sir.
Night in Beaumont, Texas.
Correct.
Well, a night as a law enforcement officer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you agree with me that as soon as you activated the first siren, he exited?
I would have to watch it again.
Okay. How would you characterize the traffic pattern that night? Medium, light, heavy,
Like,
light? I couldn't help but notice when you're roadside and your audio is on, your body cam, it sounds like a constant hum of traffic passing you. Is that light or is that heavy or is it moderate?
I couldn't tell you.
Would you have to listen to it again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And why is that important? How much traffic is on the road?
For safety reasons.
Well, for your safety reasons, but from a person charged with this type of offense, would it be contextually, I don't know whether the officer's after me or some other car.
Well, that's when the lights come on and the officer is behind them for a period of time. A reasonable person would assume that they're the one being stopped.
We don't want this jury to have the impression it was a deserted road.
No,
Okay, there was traffic on it.
there was.
Okay, it's a commercial highway, major interstate.
Yes, sir.
If the reason for the stop were the traffic violations, can you explain to the jury why didn't you write citations?
So it's up to officer discretion. I don't have the right, obviously, he got charged with other offenses, so in lieu of the citation, we made the arrest.
Okay, so officer discretion.
Correct.
You have a lot of discretion on the street, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you had the discretion not to arrest Mr. Valdez that night, didn't you?
I did.
You could have said, man, I'm gonna pull you over while you're riding the feeder road,
Yes, sir.
right?
Correct.
Now, what reason did he give you for not pulling over immediately?
I don't recall.
You don't remember? Okay. On the audio portion of your body cam, it sounds like you were pretty excited. Was that a stressful point?
I would say my drone was go.
Your adrenaline.
My adrenaline, yes. Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because your speech pattern was fast, it was deliberate. You were giving some commands, correct?
Oh,
Would you say you were kind of hyped up?
I would say a little bit.
Was that due in part to you didn't know whether there was someone else in the vehicle?
I think it's just the totality of the circumstances.
Life is about choices, is what you told Mr. Valdez. You remember that?
Yes, sir, I do.
So your choice that night was 2 ticketable offenses, which you didn't write, correct?
Correct.
1 felony that you charged him with that was dismissed, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then less than a minute on the feeder road, and we're here.
Yes.
Had you found that there was someone other than a middle-aged male in that vehicle, do you think they'd have picked up the same charge?
It's all depends on circumstances.
So I got an 88-year-old mother. She probably shouldn't be driving, but she still does. You find out it's Mary Crocker. She going to jail?
Most likely not.
You let her go down the road, or you calling someone to come get her?
We're gonna call somebody.
Okay. So was Mr. Valdez compliant when it came to getting out of the vehicle?
Initially, yes.
And then there was some confusion or some issues about you want to face down on the ground, you want him to walk for you a couple steps and all that. And would you agree with me that every department has their different type of protocols when that comes down?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it may be something unfamiliar to a citizen.
Could be, yes, sir.
He volunteered where the pistol was, what didn't he?
He did.
You guys didn't have to go false inside of his vehicle. Hey, sure, right?
I don't recall that.
In the center console, there's a 9mm. You guys were already drawn down on him, weren't you?
We were.
Was it him saying, are you gonna use that pistol on me?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you agree with me that the law should be applied uniformly and across the board, fair to all people?
Depends on circumstances.
So there's exceptions to that.
Correct.
Okay. Does something come to mind, an exception that would have prevented a citizen in the same situation from going to jail?
Yes, sir.
What would that be?
About pulling over.
No, I'm talking about this very same situation.
The exact same situation. I mean, like you stated, maybe someone who's elderly, hard of hearing, or other medical issues going on, that may have been why they weren't stopping.
But when were you able to ascertain the other factors that ultimately led you to the decision to make the charge? Because we've already ascertained that the event, as we've seen it in and of itself, is not enough. There's other circumstances. Agreed?
I would say it's enough.
I'm sorry, I thought you said you have to take other things into consideration, like
Well,
are they elderly? Do they have a medical situation?
It depends.
Okay, so when did you make those further determinations on Mr. Valdez?
When he exited the vehicle,
Okay, and how did you do that?
by instructing him to do so and putting my eyes on him.
Okay. So when you instructed him from the door of your car and put your eyes on him, you decided, one, he wasn't elderly, two,
Sure.
he wasn't hard of hearing,
That I couldn't tell by just looking at somebody, but
No physical disabilities.
no, sir.
Did you ask them why didn't you pull over?
I don't believe I did.
Would that have mattered to you?
No, sir.
Would you have preferred that he'd taken the exit or stayed on the main highway?
Either one would have been fine, but I stop cars there all the time who stop on the bridge.
Would you agree with me that there is a less instance or less likelihood of getting struck by a vehicle on the feeder than it is on a main highway?
You-
So he exited at a place that was more preferable for a stop, correct?
At the time, I don't know what was going through his head, but I don't know if that's what he was doing or not. I would assume if he was gonna stop, he would have done so once he had hit the feeder road and made an attempt to pull over.
Okay, so that wasn't my question. My question is, preferentially as an officer, if you're pulling someone over, would you prefer them to pull over on the main interstate? Or if they have the opportunity to exit a main interstate where there's less traffic?
Either way, they pay with me.
Either way is fine with you. Okay. Do you find fault in him exiting at Cooks Lake Road?
No, sir.
In reviewing your paperwork, your report, body cam, patrol car camera, do you have any personal criticisms of your performance that evening?
As far as what, the whole event?
The whole,
I mean, I'm sure what we call a felony takedown where we, call someone out of a vehicle, that probably could have went. It was kind of an odd situation. It's not your typical, event that unfolds like that. So we could have probably worked out a little better, but
could you have used more discretion?
I could have.
Part of that discretion would have been not to charge him at all with it.
Could have been.
That's what Charlie.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to take a break. You can please stand and follow the bailiff into the hallway. Going to be a recess.
Mr. Valdez used the rest of it.
Yes. You may be seated. Mr. Crocker, okay. Pass with Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. Court is in session in 2 cases, cause numbers 24 CCCR 0642 and cause number 24 CCCR 2011 and cause number 23 CCCR 0642. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Alan Valdez. Let the record reflect that Mr. Valdez is present in court with his attorney, Attorney Glenn Crocker. The state is present with Assistant Criminal District Attorneys, Attorney Andrew Hubel and Attorney Shane Hilton. Let the record also reflect that the jury is now present and seated in the court. Mr. Hubel, you may direct examine your witness.
Thank you.
Okay.
So first of all, during Mr. Carter's questioning, he asked you if there were some other vehicles that passed while you were correct?
Correct.
And he pointed to the fact that there were 2 other flights that passed previously.
Yes,
Would you characterize that as light traffic?
I would.
Okay. And in fact, whenever you were attempting to initiate a traffic stop on the defendant in this case, were there any other vehicles near you and the defendant as you were doing so?
Not.
It is your testimony that you initiated the traffic stop in Jefferson County.
Yes, sir.
In the failed signal lane change that's clearly seen in the video and states exhibit number 1.
Yes, sir, it is.
Now, if it is also your testimony that whenever you decided that this case was a fleeing case, was when the defendant took the Coast Road exit,
Yes, sir.
and is that exit very close to the boundary between Jefferson County and Hardin County?
It is.
And if I asked you to put a number to it, would you say it's within 400 yards?
Yes.
Now, in states exhibit number 2, the defendant did the defendant ask you how he would know that you intended to pull him over?
He did.
Okay. And did you list the reasons why he should have known?
Yes, sir, I did.
Do you recall what his response to that was in states exhibit number 2?
I don't recall.
Okay. Would you would you agree, actually, state would republish states exhibit number 2.
Okay.
Or in Jefferson County, what that says, if you, it's like you run for the police and you don't. Or in Jefferson County, what that says. Do what? How are you supposed to know that I was pulling you over? Well, maybe a red blue light would be the first clue. Second clue would be the siren. Third clue would be that you took an exit, you passed numerous places to pull over, you slow roll me, you know.
And after replaying that segment of State's exhibit number 2, did you hear what the defendant said in response?
I did.
And what was that?
He said, I'll give you that.
State has no further questions. State passes the witness.
Mr. Crocker?
You said something interesting. I'll read the that this occurred within 400 yards of Jefferson County, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is the Cook Lake Road exit within 400 yards from Jefferson County?
I would say approximately it's within that distance, but I'm not also good with distance.
It's safe to say you're not sure.
No, sir. Not on the exact, no.
You're not sure. Okay. It's also safe to say that if you didn't ascertain that fleeing occurred until he took the Cooks Lake Road exit, that wasn't Jefferson County, was it?
Was not.
That was Hardin County, correct?
Correct.
And he's been charged with fleeing in Jefferson County, has he not?
He has been.
And that's not true, is it?
I'm sorry, what's not
And
true?
that's not true that he was fleeing in Jefferson County.
He was not. The original
I
traffic
understand.
violation occurred.
He's charged today with eluding arrest in Jefferson County, Texas, correct?
Correct.
And he was not, was he?
He was not.
All right. As witness.
Your Honor, may I continue?
Yes, you may.
Now, again, I'm going to ask, did you initiate the traffic stop in Jefferson County?
I did.
Did the defendant and you activated your emergency lights and siren in Jefferson County?
I did.
Did the defendant pull over, following that, visual signal?
He did not.
Did the defendant pull over following that audio signal?
Did not.
Take that as a witness.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. May this witness be excused? State,
Yes, sir.
defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Officer Flanagan, you're excused. You may step down for the witness stand. Are you free to go and you have a blessed day? State, you can call your next witness.
State calls Officer Craig Murphy.
Craig Murphy. Officer Murphy, you can approach the bench. Officer Murphy, would you please raise your right hand? Officer Murphy, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
You may put your hand down, Officer Murphy. You take the witness stand and you can jet the chair and the microphone. Mr. Hubel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Officer Murphy. Good afternoon, Officer Murphy. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Officer Murphy, Wilmot Police Department.
Okay. And are you a certified peace officer?
I am,
How long have you been with PPD?
roughly 4 years.
And is that the only agency you've been with?
Yes.
Now, can you go into your training experience that was required to be a Beaumont police officer?
You gotta go to the police academy. The hours change, depending on what academy you go to. I think it was 296 hours. For the semester.
And let's go back to October of 2022. At that point, were you with BPD?
Yes.
And were you a certified peace officer then?
Right.
And what were your duties at that time?
I was a patrolman, as I am now. I responded to calls for service, or if other officers initiate a call for service, you go and respond to them, assist them, make sure they're safe.
Okay. And do you recall responding to such a call for assistance on the night of October 23rd, 2022?
Yes.
And so you, before that call, were you conducting your usual patrol on that night?
Yes, I was just driving on.
And while on patrol, you received a call for assistance from dispatch?
Yeah, well, I heard officer playing a violin on the radio that he had a vehicle. He was,
And do you recall what the nature of that call was?
he had initiated a traffic stop and then he weren't currently stopping.
Okay. And when you arrived at the scene, can you describe, like, what, how the scene was when you first got there?
When I arrived on the scene, I think they'd already began conducting the, felony taking of the vehicle. That's what we call typically.
Okay, can you briefly explain what that is?
The felony takedown.
Yes.
Generally, it's when we feel like something, is unsafe going on in the vehicle, if the officer sees someone, not stopping the vehicle. If you see someone reaching around while you're trying to conduct the stop, sometimes people are reaching for weapons, sometimes they're tucking in, various things, could be narcotics, could be, alcohol, anything like that.
So it's something that you do whenever, you said that there's a potential issue for officer safety?
Yes.
Okay. And were there other officers on the scene with you?
When I arrived on scene, Officer Genesee was already there.
Okay. And do you recall the other officers that were on scene?
Officer Flanagan was already there, and I'm not sure if Sergeant Price or the other officer was already on scene at all.
And would the other officer be, Officer Greason?
Yes.
Now at that point where, you would, you said that there's potential concern regarding rear-end stop, potential concern for officer safety. Can you tell me what that was in this case?
The concern?
Yeah,
When I pulled up, the, we'll say actor was laying on the ground, non-compliant. He kept pushing his hand towards his body. Generally, it's what people try to keep firearms just somewhere along this plane. So,
and was there also potential concern that there was another individual in the suspect vehicle?
I heard Officer Flanagan advise he thought there was someone. I couldn't see anything, but also wasn't behind the vehicle when it was moving.
Okay. During the stop, did you have your body worn camera active?
Yes.
May I approach your honor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing you what's marked as State's Exhibit number 4. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
And what is it?
I'll buy it on camera, on a tag. So,
Okay. And did you have the opportunity to review this before testifying?
Yes.
And is it a fair and accurate depiction of the events as they occurred that night?
Yes, sir.
And other than those made for trial, are there any alterations to that video?
I don't believe so.
Okay. And it was taken on your body worn camera?
Yes,
Are you a competent operator of that body worn camera?
I believe so.
Tendering State's 4.
Objection 40, Your Honor.
No objection. State's exhibit number 4 is admitted.
So when you and your fellow officers did eventually approach the defendant, how did y'all go about doing so?
Chimney was laying on the ground.
Yes.
I believe Officer Flanagan was holding lethal, non-lethal. And then when we made contact, he holstered, he made contact with another officer, and he falls in contact with these, and then I holstered him.
Okay.
When we were watching the vehicle, making sure no one was picking up, we couldn't see any kind of part.
So whenever you refer to lethal, you mean the certain officers that were with you would approach with their guns drawn?
Yeah, some of them, yes.
Okay. And you yourself and Officer Genesee were the ones who placed the defendant in custody?
I believe so. I believe it was me and Genesee, and then maybe me and Flanagan doing the handcuffing.
Okay. And is the individual that you placed in custody that night in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please identify them by pointing to them and stating an article of their clothing?
Wearing a red tie.
Will the record reflect that the state is, I mean, that the, witness has identified the defendant?
The record will so reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
And when the defendant was placed in custody, do you recall if he made, any admission?
When we're gonna conduct a weapons pat, we gave it there was a 9 mil in the vehicle.
And was that admission the result of any questioning on your part?
I did ask him where it was.
Well, but did you ask him about the existence of firearm prior to that?
I don't remember.
And did you later recover that firearm?
Yes,
Right. And may I approach your honor?
Yes, you may.
I'm showing you the contents of what's marked as State's Exhibit number 3. Do you recognize it?
yes.
Can you tell me what that is?
That's gonna be a tandem plasma if it wasn't. Like a tandem, fifty.
Okay. And is it the same one that you recovered on that night?
Yes,
And can you tell me how you know it's the same one?
would be the serial number.
And additionally, there is a tag on the contents of State's Exhibit number 3. Does the number expressed on that tag match your case number in this case?
Yes,
And where did you recover the vehicle from? I mean, the firearm from?
I was inside the vehicle, in the center console.
And after recovering that firearm, was it ultimately logged at Beaumont, Police Department's property?
Yes.
At this point, state would publish, State's Exhibit number 4.
You may publish it.
Hands up, facing away from a. No, is there? Yes, it's coming. All over the hut. There will be a bunch. There will be a bunch. Get up. Get up. What do you want? Alright. Put the seat down. There you go. There you go. That's you. I'm a veteran. Actually, he's a veteran too. Actually, most of us are veterans.
Eight 845 4 Washington.
So it might have been a bit difficult for you to hear from the audio, but were you able to hear what the defendant said in the last couple seconds that we played of the State's Exhibit 4?
When you say you had 9 mil?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So he indicated that you have one in the vehicle.
Yes.
And one other question, the vehicle that you took the vehicle that you took the defendant to in this case, or at that moment in State's Exhibit number 4, was that Officer Flanagan's vehicle?
I believe it was Officer Blanket, probably.
Okay. And was that vehicle a marked Beaumont police vehicle?
Yes.
And it was displaying its overhead emergency lights?
Mhm.
Well,
That's it.
I'll text you what?
But then, where I said it to you, full texture.
Hey, man.
048 out.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yep.
In that section of State's Exhibit number 4 that was just played, can you tell me what you, what we saw in that video?
Well, I witnessed center console where he advised the firearm would be. And then I found it in the holster.
Okay, and that was the same firearm that is the contents of State's Exhibit number 3?
Yes.
No further questions from this one, the state passes.
Okay, Mr. Crockett.
Officer, do you have any firsthand knowledge regarding this looting charge?
And like, did I see him already? No, sir, I just heard him on the radio advising and he wasn't talking.
You heard some other officers saying that.
I believe either dispatch or officer planning. That's why I started driving that way.
So you're here to simply testify that Mr. Valdez informed you that there was a 9mm in the center console of his truck, and it's exactly where he said it would be, correct?
Yes, sir.
You seem unsure.
I just want to make sure I understood everything correctly.
Did you understand that?
I believe so.
Okay. Have you charged any citizens with eluding arrest,
Fleeing, only and evading.
evading the felony, and
Yeah.
fleeing the misdemeanor?
Yes, sir.
What is fleeing to you?
Fleeing for me is generally when it's a shorter distance. If they evade, it's a little longer.
So it's distance is what comes to mind for you,
Typically, yes.
okay? So what kind of distances in your estimation result in a fleeing?
I guess it's up to the officer if they consider discretion.
What about you?
For me,
Yeah.
anything under a half mile.
So inside of a half mile. So seconds from doing highway speeds.
It depends. If you're passing very, obvious places where you could stop and change the things.
Your testimony is anything under a half mile at highway speeds, someone is supposed to stop.
Or indicate that they're going to stop.
Okay. So what are indicators you're gonna stop? Turn signal,
Blinker, slow down, hazard lights,
brake light, turn signal, correct?
hazards.
Exiting, correct?
Everything.
Slowing down. All indicators of what?
You're slowing down.
Indicators aren't stopping, right?
Well, until you've actually stopped, you're just slowing down.
Okay, so not to belabor the point. Is it your testimony that fleeing is anything under a half mile? Or is there more to it?
I would say 5 more to it. if you're both-
More to it. What else do we add to the more to it?
I'd have to pull the penal code to look at it.
Oh, I'm talking about from you, officer on the scene, seeing it. Takes me a half mile to pull over. Do I go to jail?
Well, it would be circumstances that would change things.
What circumstances are we looking at?
Is he intoxicated? There are all kinds of things going into it.
Okay,
Are they throwing things out the window? Are they trying to avoid me? What's happening?
was anything being thrown out of the window?
I'm not sure. I wasn't there. I'll show you go through the stop.
Do you have any information that it was?
Right?
If I was to make representations to you were that there's no testimony to that effect, would you disagree?
I would agree that I don't know if anything was thrown out the window.
You would also agree that nothing was thrown out the window. If I represent to you, that's not the evidence, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he wasn't intoxicated, was he?
I'm not sure.
Well, you would have arrested him for DWI or someone would have, wouldn't they?
There's no requirement to. I don't know if he would have.
He wasn't, was he?
I'm not sure. I didn't do a filter body test, I did test and brake oxidation.
What other factors do you take into consideration? Contraband being thrown out the window, intoxication, whatever else, what else?
I'm not subjected to what's going on call.
It's subjective depending on the officer, correct?
Yes, sir.
Officers have a broad range of discretion, do they not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what may be fleeing to you may not be fleeing to another officer.
That part could be evading to them.
Or it could be not.
If it's fleeing me, it's probably fleeing to a different officer.
Think so? Okay, how about if it's evading to an officer, is it evading to you?
Sometimes it's fleeing.
Sometimes it's fleeing, so it doesn't always, evading isn't always evading, right?
One of the very similar statutes.
I understand, but they're two very distinct results, wouldn't you agree? One being a felony, one being a misdemeanor.
Yes, different charges.
What was your role in this case other than taking the pistol?
My initial thought was just for officer.
You say how long you'd been in office?
Currently,
Yes, sir.
I'm in my 4th year.
With your,
Yes, sir.
how long had you been an officer in October of 22?
I believe I had just gotten up to training, maybe a month or so.
You've been off FTO for about 45 days, hadn't you?
But
Yeah. Tell them your FTO is.
FTO is your, field training cycle. It's about a 6 months period, and then it's 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 weeks, and then 4 weeks of different field training officers that you go through, it's like a on-the-job training essentially with different officers.
Wouldn't you agree with me that it's a program whereby after your graduation from the academy, you're assigned a senior officer, kind of mentors you as you go through these various departments?
Yeah, they teach you, yes.
Oh, okay. And you've been on the street about 45 days on your own.
Yes, sir.
At that point in time, how many evading arrest stops has he made?
I don't think I had made any by myself.
How many lootings?
I don't believe any.
Is Officer Benefit still with the department?
No, sir. I think he's somewhere in,
New Brownsville, didn't he?
yeah, I believe somewhere in that area.
You know why he went to New Brownsville?
I think his wife is from a bigger city and they wanted to move out in that area.
How long has he been gone?
I would think he left in March.
March 25.
Yes, sir, of this year.
That's what I think, officer.
Mr. Hill,
So, Mr. Carter asked you some general questions about, the offensive fleeing police officer, right? I'm sorry?
Yes, sir.
And you sort of answered that these situations are context dependent, right?
Yes, sir.
But, so some things that you would take into account are, say, if a defendant has several places to stop, is that correct?
Yes, it fell within reason.
If the conditions were such that that your lights were clearly visible,
Yes,
if there were maybe other vehicles involved and potential confusion as to which vehicle is being pulled over, is that something you consider?
yeah, that would slow someone down.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you do turn on your lights to pull someone over, is your intent to tell them that they're to pull over at that point?
As soon as you can, and see it bad.
And just to touch on the issue of your training at that point was to ensure that you were prepared to act on your own, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were able to do so.
I believe so.
State President.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, may this witness be excused?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Crocker?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Officer, you're excused. You may step down from the witness stand, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Hilbert, you can call your next witness.
This will be the state address, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Crocker?
Every few minutes, Your Honor.
Yes.
I didn't anticipate the state resting this early.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'll take a break. Would you please stand and follow the bailiff into the hallway? Or be in recess?
I think Mr. Valdez to
You may be seated. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in 2 cases. Court is in session in cause number 23 CCC Aura 0642 and cause number 24 CCC Aura 2011. Both cases are style of state of Texas versus Alan Valdez. Let the record reflect that Mr. Valdez is present in court with his attorney Glenn Parker. Let the record also reflect that the state is present with Assistant Criminal District Attorneys, Attorney Andrew Hubel, and Attorney Shane Hilton. Let the record reflect that the jury is now seated and present in the courtroom. The state has rested its case. Mr. Crocker, you may proceed.
Your Honor, the defense would call Alan Valdez.
Mr. Valdez, would you please come forward? Mr. Valdez, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Valdez, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Valdez, you may put your hand down. You can take the witness stand. You can adjust the microphone and the chair.
May it please the court.
Yes, Mr. Crocker, you may proceed.
Sir, please state your name.
Alan Corlery Valdez,
I'm Mr. Valdez. How old are you?
35 years old, I believe.
Are you sure?
Okay.
What do you do for a living?
Virtual dive,
What does that entail?
underwater construction, underwater inspection, is work with our refineries. Anything that's underwater, via platforms or bodies, I recover.
What'd you do prior to being an underwater guy?
For the Marine Corps,
You're a Marine Corps. How long were you in the Corps?
8 years,
8 years. What rank did you achieve?
E5 sergeant,
Sergeant. Does
correct,
that mean you're a drill sergeant?
native.
What does that mean?
It means that you progress to the ranks in accordance to your achievements and how good you are based upon your job.
Honorable discharge?
Yes.
Served our country?
Yes.
Firearms instructor?
Yes.
So let's go back to this night of October of 2022. Do you have a recollection of what occurred that evening?
Well, pulled over for one.
Well, you understand that the issue is whether or not you refuse to pull over.
Okay.
According to the officer's, yes, discretion. You heard him testify to that, correct?
Right.
Okay, so let's walk you through this if we may. You were heading north from Jefferson County into Hardin County, correct?
Correct. That's what my GPS said.
What says?
My GPS, I follow whatever my GPS says.
Where are you from?
Originally,
Yeah.
California.
California. How long had you been in Texas?
Officially, sporadic months. My mailing address is in Texas, but my job carries me to the docks of Louisiana. So I stay offshore for months at a time.
Okay, so you may have a cot someplace, but and something on a driver's license, but it doesn't mean you're staying there, right?
Correct.
Okay, so at that particular point in time, you were residing with a friend in Lumberton, Texas, correct?
Correct.
Is that where you were headed that night?
Right.
Okay. Take this jury through that night. When did you realize that someone was behind you?
Well, it was a while ago. As far as I recollect, as I was driving, eventually I saw well, first I felt like someone was, using my language, but right up on the truck, following me really close.
Well, when we looked at States One, that was the camera on the vehicle. He was really close to you, it looked like. Is that what you're talking about?
Coming fast,
And there wasn't any lights on, right?
not at the time,
Wasn't any sirens on, right?
not that I recollect.
There's just lights on you.
Eventually,
Okay, no, headlights.
oh yes,
Okay, and at that particular point in time, did you have any reason to believe that was law enforcement?
No, I was just like, oh, it's an emergency vehicle, he'll pass.
Okay, so when you or when the officer turned on the overhead lights, it appears to be at Broad Oak, which is the last street in Beaumont. Did you pull over as soon as you could?
I pulled over as soon as I figured it was for me, and I
Okay,
could, not push the situation.
the exit you took was not your exit to go home, was it? Your exit to go home is much further up the highway, correct?
I believe that's what the GPS was calling for.
Okay. Well, you keep talking about the GPS. Were you unfamiliar with the area?
I have this tendency to just, if I don't know the area, when in doubt, follow GPS.
Okay. So how long at that particular point in time had you been in the area?
Consistently,
Yeah,
approximately maybe 3 months.
3 months.
Correct.
And for those 3 months, you were working north of Beaumont, were you not?
I was working for a Tricor refinery in Silsbee.
Okay. So you weren't traversing the road south of Beaumont very often, correct?
Native.
Okay. So when you exit the highway, are you exiting because you believe the officer is trying to pull you over?
Correct.
Okay. Now you heard the officer say, hey, you passed some spots that you could have pulled over. Where did you think you could pull over?
Well, to be honest, I wanted to keep going because the street was still dark. By that time, my experience on cops don't have much patience. So when I was on the phone with my buddy, I said, I think this is for me. I'm gonna pull over.
Okay, well, let's back up. Not only are you thinking someone's tailgating you, but you're on the phone with your friend, correct?
Right.
Had you been on the phone with your friend the entire time?
As far as I recollect.
Okay. At least prior to the stop, right? Okay. Is that your explanation as to why you kind of went over into a lane?
Would assume that'd be part of it.
Why do you assume that?
Well, because the way I operate my Bluetooth is, once I operate it, I have to reach over to my screen because I drive like this.
Okay. So when you pull over, you have red and blue lights behind you. Are you then starting to look, or exit rather, are you starting to look for a place to pull over?
Yeah.
Okay. At that point in time in your experience, had you ever traveled that feeder road before?
No.
Okay. Had no reason to have traveled it, correct?
No.
Unfamiliar with the area?
Correct.
Okay. Did you know there was any type of drive that you could pull into? Okay. You see that there was a turn-only lane to the right that brought you onto a road that has been developed through testimony named Cooks Lake Road. You passed that up. Did you know anything about that road? Okay. And so when you finally pull over, why is it that you said, "Well, I got to pull over here"?
Because at that time I was like, I'm getting pulled over. I think I'm getting pulled over. Where I believe my words to my friend.
Okay. So you've braked, you've signaled, you've exited. When did you hear the audibles?
You mean him yelling?
No, no, I'm talking about the horn on the
Oh, the
police
siren.
car. Yeah.
Wasn't wrong. Maybe a little bit after I saw it.
Okay. And so you're exiting because you believe you're getting pulled over, correct?
Correct.
You've slowed down because you believe you're getting pulled over, correct?
Right.
Right. You're looking for a place to pull over, right?
Right.
And you finally decide to pull over.
Right.
You understand this jury has to determine from the time that the officer put the lights on your auto to the time that you came to rest, is that fall within the definition of criminality? You have to knowingly flee an officer. Did you knowingly flee this officer?
No, not in a V6.
What?
Not in a V6.
Not in a V6. Okay. Now, the next question is this. Even though you're not charged with any crime related to after the stop, they played some videos regarding whether or not you were compliant or not. I want to touch on that briefly. Why did you lay face down on the road?
Well, when you're offshore, you watch a lot of TV, and a lot of TV they watch is cops. And every time you see weapons drawn, it goes sideways. So honestly, once I just didn't want to deal with it anymore, I'm going to the ground and I'm staying on the ground, and that's it.
I'm not getting shot.
Correct.
Okay. So they told you to put both hands out the window. Did you do it?
I did.
Okay. How did you get out of the car if both hands were out the window?
Oh, I believe the officer told me to.
Told you to, didn't they? You did that, didn't you?
Correct.
Then they told you to take some steps to the left. Did you do that?
I believe I took at least one of them that I remember.
And then he says, take another one.
Right.
Did you do that?
I like things I don't remember having fun.
Okay. When did you realize they had guns drawn on you?
Pretty much when I opened the door.
Yeah, here we are. Welcome. Right? How many officers?
More than one.
More than one. More than Flanagan, wasn't it?
Correct.
Okay. More than the officer that just testified, Murphy, right?
Correct.
A couple others, wasn't there?
Correct.
Okay. So you lay down. You're not doing anything. I'm not gonna risk getting shot for these guys, right?
Correct.
You voluntarily told them where your firearm was, correct?
Correct.
Did they ask you if you had one?
No,
So why'd you tell them?
because they had weapons drawn, and I didn't want them thinking that I was trying to hide something when I wasn't. Weapon was legal, registered me in my truck. As far as I'm concerned, I believe it's called castle. So I kept doing it, and I told the voluntary, always better, they told me it's always better to let them know.
I'm gonna let these cops know they already got their guns drawn. There's a gun over there, right?
Right.
I'm away from it. I'm face down on the road, but there's still a gun over there, right?
Right. I specified it was holstered and put away in my center console.
And the caliber and the mag.
Correct.
You weren't hiding a thing, were you?
No.
Okay. They thought there was some other person initially in your vehicle, no other occupants, right?
Right.
No contraband being thrown out the window,
Negative.
no warrants,
Negative.
no reason to flee, evade, elude, correct?
Negative.
You ended up going to jail in Jefferson County, correct?
Correct.
Having to be booked out on a felony, correct?
At the time, I didn't know. All I was given was my property and a little, kind of like a ticket slip. And when I read it, it said alleged speeding. And then I confronted and I said, what's this? And they're like, that's a ticket. For what? I said alleged speeding. I was like, there's no radar, there's no radar calibration. What was the law that I break? Because I was mad. I got booked into jail. And I was like, there's no speed limit. Doesn't say I was speeding. There's no gun. I was like, and there's no calibration. And all it says alleged speeding. So I was mad. So that's how I know, and that's how I remember it.
And you heard Officer Flanagan say it wasn't about speeding, was it?
Correct.
Posted speed was either 55 or 65, and you didn't write you for speeding, didn't think you were speeding, was because you failed the signal, and then failed to stay in a lane.
Correct.
First you heard of that was when you got the reports, wasn't it?
Correct.
You see on, I believe it states 4. That's the last officer's body him. You find your pistol exactly where you told him it was, and then your cell phone. It's in the center console.
Right.
Cup holder, I believe.
And it's behind the center console. On the center console itself, there's a gap. That's where my phone was.
Okay. Was your friend still on the phone then?
Correct.
You heard all this go down, didn't he?
Correct.
Okay. That's the witness. Thank you.
Mr. Hill,
Good afternoon, Mr. Valdez.
Good afternoon.
First question I want to ask is, you acknowledge that you were driving your white Chevy Silverado on East Tex in Beaumont, Texas on the night of October 23rd of 2022?
If that's what the report said, I didn't know those streets.
Okay. But you don't dispute that what's shown in States Exhibit 1, the white Silverado, that's you?
The report doesn't.
Okay. And you also had the opportunity to view States Exhibit 1 while you're at council table. Do you also acknowledge that the traffic violations were caught on States Exhibit number 1?
I guess he said I failed to use my turn signal.
Right. To fail to signal lane change.
That's what it states.
And, well, I'm asking you, since you had the opportunity to view it in court today in States Exhibit number 1.
Did I see it? Correct, I saw it.
And you recognize that in States Exhibit 1 as well, while still on East X, you were, the officer gave a visual signal and a siren.
I didn't realize that at first.
Okay, but do you recall the conditions that night?
Dark.
Okay, but was it a clear night of the way?
To the video, yes.
Okay. And when you said that you noticed the officer close up on you, you didn't like it with him being that close up on you, with it being pitch black out, and with the weather being cleared, you're trying to tell this jury that you didn't see the lights activated?
Yeah, and active when he got that close to me, not until I was about to get off.
And so you're saying that he changed his different distance from you during that time?
What I saw was a vehicle come up close fast, and then back.
And at that point, while you were on East X, did you stop?
I eventually pull over.
No, while on East X. I'm asking you while on East X.
I don't know where East Texas.
While you're on that first highway that we saw in State's Exhibit number 1, did you stop there? Did you stop then?
No, I stopped where the video showed I stopped.
So you didn't stop on the highway. You took the exit, correct?
Right.
And then you continued to fail to stop for a period of time. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, would you acknowledge after viewing State's Exhibit number 1 that there were numerous places for you to stop at that time?
No.
If you had so chosen, were there numerous places for you to stop at that time?
If so chosen, is it a matter of safety? That's no.
You also admit that there was a handgun in the vehicle. That's correct.
Right.
And in State's Exhibit number 2, you asked Officer Flanagan how you knew you were supposed to stop. Is that correct?
Right.
And he listed the reasons for you. I'm going to list them now, and you tell me if you heard on State's Exhibit number 2 and you heard that night those reasons. That his red and blue lights were activated.
I heard him say.
That he activated his siren.
It was really quick. I heard him say.
That you took an exit and passed numerous places to pull over,
40 times.
and that you slow rolled up.
I did not slow roll.
Well, I'm asking you if those are the reasons that he told you that night.
Those what he said, correct.
And do you recall what your response to that was contained in State's Exhibit number 2?
Believe is how was I supposed to know?
Would you disagree with me if I told you your response to that was, I'll give you that,
Wait,
but I did pull over you? So at that point, you were acknowledging what Officer Flanagan had told you is true.
Well, that's like the also stopped on the highway.
Okay, yeah, you could have. And let me ask you this, if you could relive that night, would you make a different choice than the one that you made? Okay.
I go anywhere.
November 15th.
Mr. Crocker?
I like to be specific. You exited the first exit that was possible, correct? Less than a minute later, you got guns in your face.
Right.
As the witness.
Mr. Hill?
Um, can you repeat for me, when you first saw the lights of Officer Flanagan's patrol vehicle?
Exactly.
Yes.
I guess eventually before that exit that I took, which it made sense to take.
Okay, so. I believe earlier when Mr. Crocker was asking you, like when you'd seen the sign, when you'd seen the lights, it was when you were taking the exit. Is that correct or incorrect?
No, I saw it a little, okay. So I saw lights and I said, oh, I guess I gotta pull up. Sorry, I guess I saw lights. I'm gonna exit.
Okay, so now it's you saw the lights and then you exited. All right. No further questions.
Mr. Crocker?
I'll make it brief, Your Honor. Just so the jury's not confused, the first set of lights were the headlights that were up on you tailgating you, right? That's what we're talking about, the first set of lights. Then the second set is when you exit.
Right.
That's what.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Go further.
Okay. Mr. Valdez, you can step down from the witness stand.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Crocker, you have any more witnesses?
I have none of this, the defense rests, Your Honor.
State, you have a rebuttal?
Nothing to say, Your Honor.
Okay. Charge level first. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna ask that you step down from the jury box. We have to have what is called a charge conference. That's a conference with the judge and the lawyers. We have to prepare, get together and the court will prepare a charge. It's gonna take some time. I see that the time now is 4:06 p.m. So I don't think we'll be able to do the charge today and do closing arguments and give it to you within the next 55 minutes. Okay? So we're gonna break for the evening. And we're gonna ask that you be back here on tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Okay? And you're gonna meet in the same place that you met today. All right. Everyone, please stand as the jury exits the courtroom. Okay, you may be seated. The court will be in recess for trial until tomorrow. Jury will come back at 1 and the attorneys, you'll be back at 12.
Yes.
Okay, so this will conclude the calling of these two cases, clause number 23 CCCR 0642 and clause number 24 CCCR 2011. Everyone, please have a blessed day.